Yeah, that's right. That's it. So, this is our final session. Mm-hmm. Our final feeling of there being a session. Full release. Full release. Full release. Full release from maleness and femaleness. Mm. Yeah. That's what we're going to talk about. Yeah. The first thing that we'll point out is that there is no release in time. There's only release from the illusion of time in this choiceless instant. That's right, I said choiceless. Now, what if release wasn't optional? Just is. And we never find freedom from any particular thing. Yeah. We find freedom in everything, as everything. Mm-hmm. There's no way we can keep something apart from freedom and then be free from it. So that's the way it flows with this whole male-female thing. And we're going to just explore what that means in the context of historyless relationship in the sacred marriage, because that's the theme of the deepening. And it's really quite clear and concise and comprehensive, and it's this instant. Mm-hmm. It's not something that occurs in time. We could say time is born of the distinction between the masculine and the feminine, and the sense that the masculine and feminine are split. There you go. That's linear time. That's the illusion of spatial limitation. Yeah. That's the illusion of the mind being bound to a particular point in space, and a particular point in time. Mm-hmm. And that's where the sense of male-female seems to arise. It's right now in this instant. Mm-hmm. It's one instant. It's a switch. It's a master switch. Mm-hmm. On and off are the only options. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you can look at those either way you like. Off could be off with time. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or on could be on with the awareness that there is no time. Yeah. But the point is that while there seems to be a choice, it's a choice. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The freedom to experience whatever you want to experience yourself as, mm-hmm, is really an expression of the will. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But when the will seems bound, then you deal with choice. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the freedom to experience yourself as the love and light that you are in any way you would like to experience yourself, mm-hmm, is the freedom of your will, the extension of creation. But when there is the choice to experience yourself as being alien to yourself, right, alien to the truth of yourself, then the choice between life and death is what's prominent. Yeah, and life just being the memory that you are yourself right here, death being the illusion that you're not yourself right here. Yeah. So this is really just an instant of believing in a split in one's mind, believing that it's possible for the mind to split itself, as if this limitless field of supreme identity, pure divinity, could split itself into two, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever, like that. Mm-hmm. As if there could be a multiplicity, in unity, right? Mm-hmm. There's only unity, and unity is not the negation of what seems to be unique expression. Okay, yeah, unity is not the negation of what seems to be unique experience of itself, right? Because it never leaves itself. So unity experiences itself in what seems to be a unique vantage point of itself, right? Wholeness experiences itself in a unique way, right? Without ever leaving the sameness of itself. It is itself, it's whole, complete, total, perfect. That's you right here. Mm-hmm. So the only thing that we seem to be dealing with in terms of what feels like limitation, what feels like lack, what feels like separation, is our misthought about ourselves now. And it's an instance choice, an instance choice. Yeah. An instance choice. Choice now. Yeah. And really the choice to see that there is no choice, that there's only freedom. So the will is revealed as being limitlessly free. And then you're just dealing with will. You're dealing with extension of will, which you could say, you're deciding. Mm-hmm. But it's a decision between, this version of everything or that version of everything or that version of everything or this version of fullness, that version of fullness, that version of fullness, that version of fullness, that version of fullness. You see what I'm saying? And no lack, no loss, no possibility of leaving yourself. So the decision isn't between life and death anymore. It's life and life. Do I want to experience the life that I am this way, or do I want to experience it this way, or do I want to experience it this way, or do I want to experience it this way, or do I want to experience it this way? And at no point is there any lessening of life. At no point is there any loss of life, and there never was any loss of life. There's only what seems to be the loss of the awareness of the life that you are right here. So I'm reminded of the Upanishads, Purnamada, Purnamidam. Mm-hmm. And then there's more that I don't remember. But basically, from fullness, fullness comes. When fullness is taken from fullness, only fullness remains. Om, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just fullness. You see? Creation is fullness, self-effulgent fullness. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Self-revealed reality that's here right now. So let's look at this whole idea of male and female. So we've been looking at it, and we're just going to be taking this angle, you could say, and go into it. And I'll look at the questions at the end, right? If anybody puts it in the chat. All we're dealing with is our freedom right here to choose to experience ourselves in a way that is not true to our reality, or to experience ourselves in a way that is true to our reality. So the experience of separation, loss, limitation, and lack is not an experience that is true to our reality. That's why it doesn't feel true. It doesn't feel good to us. Mm-hmm. But we still must believe that there's some benefit in experiencing ourselves as less than we are, or we wouldn't keep choosing that, you know? So it's becoming aware of the payoff, the juice, right? That's coming out of that, and getting honest, right? Getting honest about the juice, getting honest about the payoff. Yeah. Because then we can be willing to release. We can choose release. Release of the payoff, release of what we think we're getting out of it, right? It's trading in nothing for everything. So what's the cost of everything? Just your nothingness. That's it. Just the illusion of being something more than everything. That's how much it costs, which is trade. The cost is nothing. So you could say it's free, or you could say it costs illusions. I mean, that's the same thing, isn't it? You know, all my illusions. No, I mean, but that's the way that it seems, like my precious illusions, right? But you see, you're the only preciousness there is. Whatever seemed precious in a thing, in a form, in an experience, that was just you. A projection of your own preciousness appearing as if it's outside of you because it's been denied. So when I deny myself, I can't get rid of my preciousness, but I can seem to put it in certain places in my projection, which is my perception that I'm not me. I could say, oh, here's a precious little puppy, or a precious little baby, or a precious diamond, or, you know, a precious lover, right? As if that thing is outside of my mind. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's automatically frightening. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's frightening because I'm believing that I'm not me, and that the thing that I think is precious is now a variable factor in my experience. That means it may or may not be consistent, you know? And so I need to do certain things to maintain the preciousness in my experience, you see? Mm-hmm. Whatever that may seem to be. So if it's money I think is precious, then I have to do things to make sure that I keep the money. If it's a female I think it's precious, I have to do certain things to keep the female. If it's a male I think is precious, I have to do certain things to keep the male. If it's a dog I think is precious, I have to do, you see, like that, right? Mm-hmm. But the undercurrent is the belief in loss, you see. So there's always this undercurrent of the fear of loss, right? Mm-hmm. Which is actually just the fragrance of me believing that I already lost myself, now wafting into my experience that I'm not myself, and my dream that the preciousness of myself is outside of me, and I'm getting it back from something out there. And that's all right here in this instance. That's a game that I'm choosing to play with myself right now, until I get sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I'm ready to admit that I'm wrong. I've been wrong about everything other than there being limitless, perfect love. Thank God. Because there's only this field of limitless, perfect love. And it is release. Release is, you see. Authenticity is. Yeah. Awareness of perfect oneness is. It's not optional, right? I can only dream that I have left myself. And even that dream only seems to be real because it is appearing in me. The unreal feels real. because it's reality dreaming that it's not itself. So there's a sense of validity, right, that seems to accompany the invalid idea. Invalid in the sense that it's not possible that I could be something other than what I am, that I could not be me, I could not be myself, but I am myself and you are yourself, and that's right here, a choice right now, right? And the frequency is itself. So the game is a game of substitution for what I believe I lost, right? Substitution for what I believe I lost. And as we spoke about this morning, there's this idea that the others that have popped up in my, perception that I'm not me, and my decision to believe that I'm not myself, are the source of my sense of satisfaction, that these others can complete me, right? So starting with the parental figures, my first seeming exposure to the male-female sort of apparati that are appearing in the field of my awareness. Yeah. And love seems to be coming from the mother. Love seems to be coming from the father, right? Or perhaps it doesn't seem to be coming from the mother. It doesn't seem to be coming from the father. The game is really a game of self-sabotage, as if we already, right, did the impossible to ourselves, right, which is a dream right now, that I already left myself. And now, because I did this terrible thing and I left the love that I am, there's this loop. There seems to be this loop where I'm sabotaging myself because I believe that I'm less than worthy of perfect love, because I don't see my inherent worth and my inherent perfection, which is a choice that I myself am making as this limitless what is, this limitless isness, this limitless field that is. So how do I dream that I haven't failed myself? How do I get out of the feeling of having failed myself? By manufacturing images that seem to fail me. Yeah. See, then I don't have to look at my mind and take responsibility for being the one that's choosing to believe an erroneous thought. And it is completely erroneous. So then you have the father failure, the mother failure, the brother, sister, the brother failure, the sister failure, the girlfriend failure, the boyfriend failure, which can also seem to come back to, me failing to get my father's love, or me failing to get my mother's love, or me failing to get my girlfriend's love, or me failing to get my boyfriend's love. But if I look a little closer, I'm going to find that really, on some level, I have felt that it was their fault. Because even though I wasn't doing a good job, they should have. I was young. See, this is the dream. So then I have to be smaller in stature, right? Yeah. My brain has to appear less developed. So that it fits with the story of being failed from without. Do you see what I'm saying? And then, then you get into all sorts of just different connections of the reason that I'm this way is because so-and-so didn't love me. And if they had loved me, then I would have been able to love you. And then I would have been able to show up for you and da, 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 da. You see, it's a complex web of nonsense. So, and that's not in time, but it is the dream of time right now. So it's a choice right now. This holographic field is a simultaneity of pure potentiality. There is no past, period. Yet you are choosing what seems to be versions of the past from a field of simultaneous light, yeah, love, light, substance, self, and teaching yourself that this is what happened now. Yeah. As if it's objective, as if it's something that is, that's the way it is. That's the way it is. That's what happened. You know what I mean? So no. It's a version. It's a version of what if. That's all it is. It's a version of a what if thought. And as if there were linear time. And then here's what happened in the linear time. But there is no linear time. Yeah. So that's an as-ifer. It's a what-ifer, right? Okay. It's a game that what is you right here seems to be playing with itself. Now, now, yeah. The male or the female, whatever configuration of that, both, one or the other, whatever, the mind believes that it's into, right? Yeah. Is the purported promise of satisfaction through the completion of the incomplete half of the whole. You see? Yeah. Because I'm choosing right now as this whole, complete, limitless self to believe that I've split myself into two. So there's a simultaneity of my belief that I've split myself into two aspects called pure awareness and conscious presence, which is like a distinction in myself, which does not imply a split. But when I believe that I have become, something other than myself, it seems as if there is this split between awareness and conscious presence. And that split then seems to show up as what seems to be the projective presentation of a male and a female. And the male and the female are both the wholeness experiencing itself, you could say, from what seems to be different vantage points of its dream. Yeah. Both contain both the masculine and the feminine aspects of this field. Okay? Yeah. All right. The masculine, feminine aspects of self with a capital S. That's this field right here. Right? So there's this silent, changeless, pure seeing. Okay? Let's say this field is wholeness. It's wholeness. It's pure divinity. It's life. It's love. It's truth. It is. Okay? There seems to be a dimensionless aspect to this field. That means that what seems to be perceiving the dimensionality does not have a dimension, right? In order for dimensionality to appear, right, there has to be that which is non-dimensional, right? So there's this non-dimensional seeing, locationless, dimensionless perceiving, and then there's a dimensional fullness of potentiality, which seems to be explored by the dimensionless seeing, right? So right here, this dimensionless seeing is what seems to be exploring the dimensionality of itself collapsing, the potentiality of itself collapsing into what seems to be the words that Andrew is speaking, right? The words have a certain dimension to them. Sound, there's a texture, there's a sense, a sense of hearing, right? There's a presence. Right? Mhm. And then there's a pure perceiving of the sound, which does not have a dimension. Okay? All right? So this is, we can say, conscious awareness. Yeah. But in this context, we're recognizing it as the radiance of pure divinity. Okay, the radiant reality of yourself, capital S. Yeah. So let's say that the split in my mind, where I believe that I've split into two aspects, the masculine and the feminine aspects, and that these aspects are not sort of in sync. They're not harmonized. They're not unified, right? Yeah. Shows up in my mind as a sense that I'm not whole, right? My belief that I'm not whole is the belief that I've split myself. And then the projection that makes up my perception seems to show up as what seems to be this division between male and female, right? And the sense of there being a male or a female out there that holds the promise of my fulfillment is the only thing that seems to be sticky. That's really the only issue we could say. There's nothing inherently problematic, right, about the experience of oneself, right, as male, female, as masculine, feminine, as anything. But when I believe that I'm incomplete and I need to find completion, there seems to be a stickiness. That's where there's fear. So that means that I can see that I'm not incomplete and I don't need anything because I am everything. And actually, I can only ever experience myself. And there's no possibility of loss in myself. And that's my choice now. And there still seems to be, the experience of myself as a female or the experience of myself as a male and whatever's unfolding in that experience. But it's inherently non-problematic, right? It's inherently non-dramatic. It's no longer a drama, you see? Which takes the juice out of it if that's what you're into. You see what I'm saying? If you're in it for the drama, then seeing that it's just you probably isn't the route you want to go. You want to keep it more two-y, you know what I mean? And two-y's a bit more chewy. Yeah. So it doesn't promise the same juice, you see. But we don't really want juice. All right. We can think we want the juice. We can think we want the drama. We can think we want the sort of, it's almost like it's not true excitement. It's like it's a false excitement that's really fear. Yeah. We can think we want that. But we don't really want that. What we really want is the fullness of the freedom of ourself and the flow of ourself experiencing itself, appearing, right, as lackless, limitless love, tasting itself, exploring itself. You see? And that can still seem to show up as a certain relationships, yeah, but it's not a relationship with another. Yeah. Yeah. And there never was a relationship with another. It was always a relationship with ourself. What seemed to be the other was a relationship with a misconception of myself, right? A misperception of myself. Because I believed I wasn't me, right? Then you're not me, right? And me is this field of limitless freedom, wholeness, oneness, yeah, reality. You see? Mm-hmm. So it's looking at where we have, sold ourselves, right? We're choosing to sell ourselves. It's not even in the past, like where we've sold that's dramatic, right? Then have this, choosing a timeline now that seems to give you the evidence of all of your failures. No. Right now, am I selling myself, right, for scraps of limitation? Scraps of limited consideration, limited, ideation. That's where I'm looking to the images in my own mind as if they're not my mind, as if they're outside of my mind. And I'm saying, hey, do you love me? Am I okay? Are we're still getting married, right? That hasn't changed? Okay, all right, good. I'll check back in 5 minutes, right? I'll check back in the morning, right? Just fear, which is a choice, right? It's so important to see that fear is a choice to believe that I'm not me, that I'm not myself. So the conflict with relationship, and we're taking this sort of down the romantic road, right? Mm-hmm. Redefining romance, really, as being fully in love with yourself. Mm-hmm. So it's a marriage with yourself. So we first look at the marriage within, and then the reflection, of the marriage within is what it is. You see what I'm saying? You don't go to the reflection first, and you try to replicate the reflection without coming to cause. Correction's at the level of cause, not effect. If you hear about the effect and you say, oh, I'm going to try to make it like the effect, right? And the whole point of the effect in terms of the perception of the world was to get away from the cause, right? Because we're afraid of the misuse of our creative power, afraid of the feminine. Yeah. You're afraid of ourself, the misuse of ourself, the abuse of ourself, right? That's what we're afraid of, right? The betrayal of ourselves. And that's just a deep distrust in ourselves, right? Which shows up as what seems to be a distrust in form, a distrust in relationship, a distrust in moving in a certain direction. Like, yeah. So we're looking to images. What should I do? Where do I go? I mean, that's the function of the Holy Spirit or the higher self, while we still don't see that we are the higher self, which does not take time. We can believe it takes time, but it doesn't take time to see that we're the higher self. Right? it really takes time to believe that we're not the higher self. That is the belief that we're not ourself. The higher self is just ourself. I mean, the Holy Spirit is ourself. Yeah. So it's a useful symbol, yeah, and tool for the mind that believes that it's in time. Mm-hmm. But there is no gap. The imaginary gap has already been closed, right? There's only this immediate isness, right? And it's the perfect love of yourself. So a marriage with ourself, a marriage in the mind. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. I found the poem. I'll read it. Mm-hmm. A marriage in the mind. Illusions left behind. As freedom fully gives, freedom fully finds. A love that never ends. A grace that always shines. Awaken from the slumber, the dream of space and time. Wholly whole and healed, this glory stands revealed. Illusions left behind, a marriage in the mind. A marriage in the mind. I mean, to leave behind an illusion is not to leave anything behind, really. just FYI. That's a bit dramatic, too. I'm leaving it all behind. Classic. Sacrificial penance. There can be certain symbols of that, but it's really non-essential. Drama is non-essential. We define the need for drama in our sort of unwillingness to look at the problem as it is, right? So that calls forth what seems to be dramatic experiences to help us get in touch with the problem as it is. And the problem is always our choice now to believe that we're not what we are. We're less than whole, we're less than perfect. That a split has occurred, right? And love did not create a split. Mm-hmm. So no split has occurred. And really, masculinity, femininity doesn't even really imply a split. Mm-hmm. It seems to, from a dualistic vantage point. But in the pure simultaneity of holographic oneness, mm-hmm, everything is everything else. Mm-hmm. Everything contains everything else. Everything permeates everything else. So there is no actual division. That's an artificial perception. Mm-hmm. So then we're sort of acknowledging that the inherent conflict around relationship is always linked back to our attempt to use relationship to fill a hole that only myself can fill. That's it. So whether it's the parental, whether it's the, any variation of that, because it's really only one relationship. I'm just experiencing myself as this field. Yeah. It doesn't matter, whether it's the teacher or the whatever. It's the same thing, That's where the whole question of purpose comes in. And purpose is only relevant as long as the mind seems to be split, believing that it's split. Mm-hmm. Which, even to say, for as long as the mind believes that it's split, might be taken in a way that seems to sort of imply that you're in some sort of a process in linear time where your mind is becoming unsplit. Nope. Not happening. The mind was never split. Now, right now, the mind has not split. It's not becoming unsplit. Yeah. So again, it goes back to the process, the desire for a process, right? My choice to believe that I've left myself, and then the map unfolds. And when the map unfolds, there seems to be distance, space, time, division between me and my awareness of myself. There seems to be alarms, danger warnings. Mm-hmm. Because that's the same as believing in loss, right? When this map is folded, which it always is folded, mm-hmm, everything is together. Everything is. Everything is just is. There's only everything. And then I, as this everything, can seem to choose to believe that I'm not everything, that there's something more than everything. And then the map unfolds. And then there seems to be distance between me and my projections. Yeah. So that's, we can look at it in reference to money, right? Now there's this thing called money that's outside of me, and there's distance between me and money. Because opening the map is a definition of not having. Right? Now I need to get because I don't have. Love, okay? There's a distance between me and finding the one. Because I'm choosing to believe that I'm not the one, right? So now you might be the one. You want to hang out later? Yeah. Yeah. So fill in the blank. That's what I was talking about yesterday with the idea that there's any delay in manifestation at all. Because really, in reality, things are thought responsive. That means I just think and things appear, That's the way that it is, in creation. Yeah. Creation is just thought, mm-hmm, extension. Right? That's different from manifestation of illusions where I think that I'm dealing with externals, right? Okay. Which means I'm aware that my thought is the generative power of creation, and I'm extending the kingdom of myself, yeah, the kingdom of love, mm-hmm, in pure joy. Chawik, yeah. Pushti maikawa. You see? Mm-hmm. And all of us are familiar with that. Yeah. All of us are familiar with that. That's not foreign. What's foreign, right, is the feeling of things not being thought responsive. Then we make up the whole jumble jumbled station of thoughts, right? That seems to make us glad that things aren't thought responsive, because if things were thought responsive, then goodness gracious, what would be going on with these thoughts that I think I'm having, right? Which actually aren't real thoughts. They're fake thoughts. I made up these thoughts to defend against my real thoughts. Why? Because I'm afraid of my real thoughts. I'm afraid I misused my real thoughts. I'm afraid I misused my real power. So I need fake thoughts to make me feel limited and small, right? Mm-hmm. And to give me the illusion that I do not have powerful thoughts. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the truth is, I am thought. There's only thought. That's different from what human beings think thoughts are, right? Human beings, we think thoughts are like little, we have our own little thoughts or something. No, that's just a trick. That's a game. There's only limitless thought. It's just pure love, light, vibratory revealment, extension, forever, like that. Mm-hmm. So we were talking earlier, someone was talking about traveling by thought, like that's a special thing. That's not special. You're already traveling by thought right now. You've never not traveled by thought. You just seem to also include this strange symbology of a sort of bipedal vehicle that seems to sort of walk. Yeah. By thought. That's how it walks. I mean, its walking is thought. It doesn't really walk. You know what I mean? It's not like there's travel in space or travel in time. Mm-hmm. In a linear sense, anyways, right? It's just travel here really refers to non-linear experiencing, which seems to be linear, right? Through my choice. Yeah. But everything is just creation, demonstration of thought. How do you think a meal gets prepared, right? We go to the pho restaurant. How by thought? We travel to the pho restaurant by thought, right? Yeah. We created the experience of a pho restaurant. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we give ourselves this little, like, these images, like we're getting in this car and then we're going, driving down the road, getting out of the car. We're like, we made it. It's just straight thought. We just traveled there by thought. And the only difference is, as we remember the power of our mind, we just need less and less symbology in between us and the pho restaurant. You see what I mean? So I don't need the Rivian. I don't need the Rivian now. But, as the mind is stepping into its power, the Rivian is a useful symbol. But at a certain point, right, which will not be in time, by the way, not be in the future, right? The Rivian is not essential. Yeah, we've outgrown the symbology, right? Just like a child that let's say the child is playing with toys, all right, and there's a toy truck, and it puts the toy truck on the ground and it says, vroom. And it's playing. It feels like it's moving from over here to over here. Opens the truck door. That's all thought. You see? That's exactly what these toys of space and time are. They're just little toy trucks, right? And whatever little tinker toys. Yeah. That we use as symbols that seem to give us a sense of safety and security and smallness, right? Because after all, we're not a limitless mind. No. We're down here on the ground. We're on Earth. There's oxygen. We're getting in and out of things. We're traveling. And then, of course, in the distance that I seem to need to travel, a lot of potentially disastrous things could occur. We call them car wrecks a lot of times. Right? So be safe. Classic. Be safe. In the very definition of believing that you're not safe. You see what I mean? Uh-huh. So really, we're outgrowing symbology. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're outgrowing symbology at a rapid rate. The mind right now has pierced through a membrane of self-limitation and now is establishing itself in a non-linearity, yeah, which is the new baseline for your experience. So in this group, yeah, and in other groups, and just in general, according to the choice of the mind, what is now accessible is a baseline nonlinearity. That means for you, you're going to less and less feel like time is linear. You already, right now, are not really experiencing time in the same way that you seemed to before. This is where things like telepathy and other quote unquote psychic abilities, start to become just the way things are. You think about something and it appears the next day. See, that seems frightening in victimhood, because what if I have a bad thought? I don't want it to appear the next day. You see how that's shrinking back from the power of my mind. That's all. I'm generating this illusory experience of being able to experience something I don't want to. So then I need to run away from certain thoughts. Don't let certain thoughts up. Yeah. Watch out. Be careful. Nothing happens to me against my will. It's not possible. Yeah. And the dream of linear time is the dream that things happen to me against my will. So the dog barking is not something that's occurring out there, outside of my decision. It's a chosen experience, right? I can be more or less conscious, seemingly, of the power of my chosen experience, the power that chooses all experience. This is the difference between creation and miscreation. It's the only difference. And miscreation, again, is not a thing that actually occurs. It's a non-happening. It's a non-occurrence. It's a non-arising. True creation is. Right? Yeah. True creation is. Right? True creation is, which is why absence-based teachings that only go into non-arising, non-this, non-that, non-negation don't go all the way. Yeah. Yeah. They're useful for emptying out, right? The false, the miscreation, the miscreative idea. But if it's not replaced by the memory of true creation, right, then it's still partial, right? And that means it won't last, because you cannot remain partially realized. It's not possible. Right? There's no such thing as partial enlightenment for too long. You see, you can only seem to stay there for a bit. But everything is working together for the good. And the good is full release. Total release right here. Freedom from fear. Freedom from fear. Which was always a choice. So let's go back to the mapping, right? The folding, the outfolding of the map, the illusion of distance, and then look at that in reference to male and female, right? When the map is closed, yeah, male and female are one. Same, there's only one self. So it's not even as if there is male and female, right? In any kind of relative objective way, right? There's only subjectivity experiencing itself. When I unfold the map, the sense of male and female as a split division within myself seems to appear. Now, okay, there's fear, right? There's fear, right? There's fear. Because linear time is fear, right? If I think that I can find fulfillment in linear time, I'm frightened. I'm frightened. I'm frightened because I believe that it's possible to leave myself, to leave my own wholeness. Yeah. So my choice, the power of my choice right now, the power of my mind right now, can seem to choose to experience itself as less than it is, and that's the unfolding of the map, right? And when the map unfolds, just like that we talked about the Hallmark card, when it unfolds, right, the pop-up people, the pop-up world seem to appear, right? And then there's a man and a woman. And there's distance between the man and the woman. There's space between the man and the woman. The man and the woman are divided. So the folly of special relationship, right, which is actually impossible, is the attempt to keep the map open and then bring what is divided together, two divided parts together. And that doesn't work. We know that doesn't work. Yeah. Because that's where, in that imaginary gap, right, between me, between me and myself, that's where the drama seems to happen. That's where so-and-so seems to let me down. You're not understanding me. Why do you always do that? I knew I shouldn't have trusted you. Do I need to do more parodies on? Right? Is that necessary? Well, we could say that we define it as being necessary to help us get in touch with the awareness that it's unnecessary. So until we see that it's unnecessary, it seems necessary because it's the means by which we begin to recognize that it's not necessary. What do I really want for myself? I can find out just by looking at my experience. What am I giving myself right now? Are you just an image in my mind to help me get rid of my belief that I betrayed myself? Is that what you are? Or are you the perfect holiness of this field of limitless love? That is me. That's the only choice. Yeah. And that's what it means to be married. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There is no divorce in this marriage, But divorce is, what isn't possible. Just think about the word. I mean, it's an absurd word. Divorce. Just like separation, Just impossibilities, right? Within this field of limitless possibility, there's a few things that can occur. One of them is divorce. Meaning that infinite potentiality can't split itself apart, can't leave itself. Separation isn't possible. Lack isn't. There are different ways of saying the same thing. Which is basically saying that I can't not be me. You see? So really, we're just looking at deep honesty, right? Deep honesty with ourselves. Like every relationship that appears in our experience is just a reflection of our relationship with ourselves. That's it. And you could say that it's a reflection of our relationship with God, which is our relationship with ourselves, right? Those are just different orientations towards the same basic premise. The first one is introduced correctively because there's so much mistrust in ourselves. So we say God first, right? But now the maturity is such where we can come back to seeing that actually God is ourself, that there's only God, there's only the creator, and that is me. Yeah. So everything that I seem to experience is a reflection of my relationship with myself, right? And that, of course, includes, right, my experience of myself as what seems to be a romantic relationship. Yeah. A marriage, fill in the blank. Yeah. But that is the same as my relationship with what seems to be a tree and my relationship with what seems to be, a cup of coffee, right? That doesn't mean that I drink the tree, I drink the cup of coffee. I seem to drink the cup of coffee. I don't believe that I'm actually drinking anything. I appreciate the tree's beauty. Mm-hmm. And then in this experience of myself, I seem to kiss. Sometimes I kiss a tree. You never know. Yeah. Kiss some flowers. I used to be a flower kisser. I did. I'd be like looking when I was on my run and just looking. The morning glory. I was head over heels in love with everything. Myself. I mean, goodness. Yeah. Whew. Mm-hmm. He used to really get me. The flowers. They still do. Those roses, dude. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Don't worry, that's crazy.
Well, no, just hold on, because I'm not at the question part yet. Okay. Yeah. So we're freeing ourselves from the feeling of being other than we are. Yeah. And what we find is that every hesitation around any experience, like any suspicion around experience, any pulling back from an experience, as if loss were possible, as if harm were possible, as if we could be distracted from the path, as if we could be, taken away from our devotion, or whatever seemingly sophisticated reason seemed to enter our mind, was always our fear of ourself, our mistrust in ourself, and our fear of misusing and abusing ourselves, giving ourselves away. That's all it is. Think about it. Just look at it, right? Any hesitation I have around relationship, right, really is my fear that I'm going to give myself away, right? That I'm going to lose myself. Yeah. Now, I'm not talking about the small self, quote unquote, right? Because that's not what I secretly believe I lost, right? What I believe I lost, what I chose to believe I lost, was the divinity of myself. Right? That's what every single seeming upset is about, without exception. If I see that I'm me, if I see I never left the divinity of myself, there is no upset, period. Question. There is no upset. So I'm never upset for the reason I think. Mm-hmm. So what am I teaching when I hesitate on something, when I pull back, when I'm suspicious, when I'm weary of a certain experience? You see, I'm teaching myself that it's possible to lose myself. I'm re-believing in that impossible idea as if it already occurred, as if I've sort of gotten back to a state of whatever, realization that I lost before. Yeah. And really, the hesitation is surrounding the belief that I'm going to lose it again. That I'm going to leave my identity, but that's not possible to leave my identity. My identity is with divinity, you see? See, I was never upset because I felt I left like nothingness. That wasn't upset. That's not very upsetting, right? Qualityless, attributeless, right? Sort of nonness. I wasn't really upset if it was just, if I just, sort of seemed to forget nonness. That's not really that upsetting. What I was really always upset about was my belief that I left my divinity. the exquisite bliss and love, the thickness, the fullness of the radiance, you see. Yeah. Yes. That was very frightening. I was choosing fear because I was choosing to believe, right, that I left the at-homeness, you see, exquisite. Mm-hmm. So then, am I teaching right now that it's possible to leave the at-homeness, right? Or am I teaching that it's impossible? Am I teaching that harm and loss are possible? Or am I teaching that harm and loss are impossible? Right? Am I teaching that I need to do something to be myself? Or am I teaching that I need to do nothing to be myself? Am I teaching that there's linear time? Or am I teaching there is no linear time? Because what I'm teaching is what I'm learning. And what I'm giving is what I'm receiving. And I'm giving right now whether I recognize it or not. That means I'm receiving right now whether I recognize it or not. Right? Right? We are the true teacher. We are the master. We can seem to be masters of illusion, masters of limitation, right? Or masters of limitless infinity. Yeah. But mastery isn't optional. So when the map is open, male, females seem to appear. They seem to be divided by space and time. And that's a frightening prospect. To think about a relationship in time is frightening. How long will it last? You know? What kind of things will happen? Will it be okay? You know, whatever. All of that stuff, right? Only because I'm opening the map. If I don't open the map, there's no problem. Because male and female are not two. Yeah. Which means that I'm actually relating from wholeness. Yeah. Now, the mind that believes in time can't imagine what that looks like. Because it can only imagine in terms of linear time. But that doesn't mean it isn't here. That doesn't mean it's not here. Of course it has to be here because there's only everything. So this idea that something's too good to be true, right? That's just a thought. That's a belief that I'm choosing. Actually, it's too good not to be true. Yeah. Now, if I'm choosing to believe in fantasies which pertain to linear time in my attempt to substitute for the love that I'm choosing to believe that I lost, that's, you know, my responsibility. And what I'm talking about is not fantasy, I promise. Mm-hmm. There's a big difference. Mm-hmm. But that's maturity, okay? That's the maturity of the mind, not in time. The mind matures out of the dream of time, out of the toys of time. Out of the illusion of space and limitation, you see? And then what is possible is only love. That's it. Only love is possible because only love is real. How could anything else be possible? Right? Whether love appears this way, love appears that way, love's vibrating like this, love's vibrating and experiencing itself like this and like this. It's love and it's love and it's love. And it's always been love. And that's what we're recognizing is that I've just been choosing to experience love as something other than love. Fear is just resisted love. Yeah. Denied love. That's fear. Yeah. If I seem to put my hand in a flowing stream, ripples appear. But it's still water, you know? I need just see that I am sticking my hand in there and pull it out. That's it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So then, everything that we look at within the realm of relationship in terms of like special relationship and pointing these things out, basically exposing the thought system of substitution, right, is just to get us to the point where we see that there is no linear time, right? Then we don't need to expose a thought system of specialness because there is no specialness. Specialness isn't possible, right? Right? Any hesitation around specialness is just teaching that it's possible. That's it. It isn't possible. Yeah. Only love is possible. So there's nothing to avoid about relationship. Mm-hmm. Because there's only one real relationship, right? And when my relationship with myself is right, which it is, if I choose to see that it's already whole and complete, yeah, mm-hmm, then my relationship with everything else, nope, that's not going to work because there is nothing else. Right? So you can see that that's the singularity of it, that my relationship is whole, yeah? Mm-hmm. And until, to say until that point, I just want to be really clear, that can be a delay. Well, I'm still, not there yet. I'm just going to be working on some other stuff for a while. Okay. Right? That's your choice. I mean, honesty, authenticity, and gentleness and tenderness with yourself and patience is everything. That is loving yourself. Yeah. And that's why the purpose of relationship, even from what seems to be the deceived state of mind, right, is what, or only, let's say not even from, the purpose of relationship from the deceived state of mind is what shifts. It's a shift in purpose from substitution to remembrance, right? From substitution to self-love. That's the purpose, right? Mm-hmm. That's the master switch with everything. Mm-hmm. Which is a choice. The choice. Mm-hmm. Then, in true creation, there is no purpose. Purpose is no longer needed. Because there's only love and there's only creation. And love is all there is, you see. No. And it's too good not to be true. So just look closely at the self-sabotage addiction, right? Mm-hmm. That means continuously manifesting images to ourselves that seem to testify to how love is lost, right? And love is lacking, and love is limited, and love doesn't last. Yeah? That's a decision that we're making. That's a choice, and it's not true. Okay? It's not true. So, nothing serious. It's a celebration. Yeah? Lighten up. It's a celebration, yeah, of life, right? Not a pouty party about death and whatever versions of holographic potentiality we're choosing right now to feel occurred in our experience, right? Which is sort of a mopey decision, like just there's only bliss and love, and I'm just sitting here as bliss and love thinking, oh, I can't believe this happened. Just making up this timeline, right? Well, then what if, oh gosh, what if this happens again? You see, it's always a decision now, right? To unfold the map, right? Yeah. Just keep the map. Just, it's really the belief that the map can be unfolded. The map can't be unfolded, actually. That's the only sort of issue, is the belief that it's possible to unfold the map. It's not. You can't unfold the map. Yeah? You can only believe that you can, right? So that's it. And our brother Jesus, which is he's not on a map back then, okay? Right? If we fold the map up, Jesus is here now, is you. You are Jesus. There's only one of us. Krishna, you're Shakyamun, you're all of them, because there is no time, there's no linear time, there's no distance or space. On our brother Jesus, in the dream of time, spoke this in the Gospel of Thomas. Okay. Sayings of Jesus. When you make the two into one, remember the two's the map, outfolded, infolded, outfolded, infolded. We talk about folding in, yeah? Choosing again. Yeah? What if, what is? When you make the two into one, and when you make the inner as the outer, the upper as the lower, and when you make male and female into a single one, so that the male shall not be male, and the female shall not be female, then you will enter the kingdom. Yeah. So that is the sacred marriage. Yes. The sacred marriage is. Mm-hmm. It's just a choice until it isn't, which won't be in time. Won't be in 2027. It was no longer a choice because 2027 is now. Yeah. There's only the holographic simultaneity of yourself. So, all of that being said, as a reflection of the sacred marriage, the self is also choosing to experience itself getting married in form. Paulina and I are going to get married. Mm-hmm. So, celebration of limitless freedom. Mm-hmm. And probably some extraction. Which is to say, those are actually synonymous, right? All right, questions. I've got someone here first, and then we'll come. Yeah. All right, Atlas. I never know how to pronounce this. Atlas Cias. I have a genuine question. That's good. I like genuine ones. I am engaged with feeling the sensations of what you might call the deep shadow. And the sensations are very intense, but not blissful, even with surrender. Why is this? All right. Yeah. You're choosing to experience yourself in a certain way. Yeah. Your question reeks of resistance. Yeah. The only reason we experience anything in any way is because we've chosen to experience it that way. Right? If I'm saying that I'm going into sensations, but I'm trying to experience them as bliss, then I'm resisting bliss under the guise of looking for bliss. Yeah. So the question is, what do I really want? What do I really want right now? I can find out what I want by looking at my experience, because experience is desire. Now, what am I giving myself? Am I giving myself a problem and a need to fix something and the need to do something and the need to make something different, which is a denial of the perfection of myself? Or am I giving myself freedom? Am I giving myself love? Am I giving myself compassion? Am I giving myself tenderness? Am I giving myself kindness? Am I giving myself patience? Right? It's my choice. You know? There is no reason that things are a certain way. Yeah. Other than I have chosen to experience myself in a certain way. So if I have sensations that, and as far as like the deep shadow, it's just all the same sensation. It's just the same experience. There's just vibration. Uh-huh. There's just vibration. Just isness. If I have a vibration that seems to be less than loving, you could say, or less than blissful, then it's a call for love. It's a call for bliss. I'm the bringer of bliss, right? If I'm looking for it to give me something, that I don't believe I have, then that's my choice. I'm choosing to experience myself in a certain way, right? But the truth is I can't get out of myself. I can't get away from myself, and there's only myself, and every sensation is myself. So if I'm trying to change myself because I've judged myself as the sensation is myself, I've judged the sensation of myself as being less than perfect, right? And now I'm trying to change it, then that's just self-violence. I'm just punching myself. And actually, the tenderness and the patience and the compassion is the alchemization, right, of that concealed vibration of myself, because I'm choosing right now to free myself from seeming to be anything other than perfect. If I define a problem, right, and then a solution in time, and I'm sitting here trying to do something with the sensation and get to this point where it's different, right, then that's my choice to deny myself, to experience myself as less than I am, less than perfect, less than whole. And no one is making me do that. There is no one out there. It's a holographic field. The others are not others. They're just parallel, they're reflections of you. They're parallel reflections of you in a field of simultaneous love light. You know? You are the creator. There's only the creator. Yeah. So what am I giving myself, really? I mean, a lot of tenderness, a lot of patience, and a lot of love is important. But if I'm doing that, I'm like, oh, I was tender for like 5 minutes, but nothing changed. Hold on a sec. Was that really tenderness? Because that's still violence. I'm like trying to be tender to get rid of something. And I'm like, why is it still here? I've been doing this for 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Goodness. And someone's even got the numbers they want to tell me. For 3 days, I tried this. Right? What that means is I tried to get rid of something for 3 days, and it didn't work. Tried to get rid of myself. I judged a part of myself and then tried to get rid of it. Yeah? I mean, good luck. It's a helpful exercise to find out that it doesn't work, just like everything. That's the process in this density. We try things out to find out that they don't work. Now we try people pleasing. It doesn't work. Not upsetting anybody. It doesn't work. Right? Mm-hmm. Right. Being mindful of others' feelings. I mean, talk about a terrible idea. Maybe in the early stages. To be mindful of others is a contradiction in terms. How can you be mindful of others? You can only be mindless. Yeah. Meaning that you don't see that you're a mind, and that's where others come from, because it's a choice to believe in a body. Mm-hmm. And as if there are others that have feelings apart from you. You see, you're the total field. Be the bliss, right? Then the reason that you're not shining is because of what imaginary characters in your mind might think or how they might feel. So I'm not going to be myself because of false images that I made up in my deception about myself. Okay. It's not going to work. That just will just become so intolerable in the mind, right? It's like, how can I keep betraying myself on the basis of this projection that there are others out there that are expecting me to be a certain way, and I'm just making them up and using them as an excuse to not be me, right? To not be the truth of my limitless reality. When actually, what everyone needs is for everyone to be the truth of the limitless reality, because then we all are encouraged to be the truth of the limitless reality that we are, instead of playing the game of smallness, which is fear. It's either fear or love. There's nothing in between. And most of the time when we talk about love, we're talking about fear, just calling it love. I'm afraid of what others might think, right? Yeah. No, that's not what we want, guys. We don't want that. Do I choose what illusions seem to appear in the dream? Do I choose a dream of persecution or seeming abundance? Or is this all just trivial dream stuff that is trivial and worthless? No, you choose the dream, right? Really, the dream is that there's something outside of you. That's the dream. When I see that there's only myself and there's only the limitless field of divinity, right, as myself, then that's not a dream. You could call it a lucid dream in the sense that, I mean, really it's only dreaming as if I think that something's there, you know what I mean? Or let's say lucid dreaming is where I recognize that it's a dream and it's made out of my mind. So I make a correction there. So it is lucid dreaming when you recognize that it's yourself and it is your mind. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And in this context, you know, lucid dreaming is the goal, you could say. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Lucid dreaming isn't just seeing that you're the silent witness of the dream, and then images are still appearing that you aren't choosing, right? That's like early stage lucid dreaming, but that's still victimhood, right? I can say, because I'm the witness and because I'm not affected by anything that passes through me, right? Then it doesn't matter what happens or whatever, right? But that's not really stepping into our power. That's where the fear of the feminine is, and that's where there's still hiding out from the truth of our fullness, right? It's hiding out in the masculine seeing, right? Mm-hmm. Because we're afraid of the power of our creative, demonstration. Mm-hmm. So it seems peaceful for a while, but it won't last. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it won't last. Right? It won't last. Thank God it doesn't last. Thank God it doesn't last. Yeah? And only what lasts forever is valuable. Mm-hmm. And what lasts forever is me and the way that I see myself, you see? So then, there's this idea that lucid dreaming is sort of, not preferable or something. Like, it's still kind of a weird idea. Like, you might get stuck in lucid dreaming or something. I just see it as that's teaching fear. Like, how could I get stuck in lucid dreaming? Like, what? I need to watch out for something, or, Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. I can only non-linearly reveal my capacity as the creator. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not in time. So therefore, lucid dreaming is not a problem, right? Lucid dreaming is the solution, right, to the belief that I'm just a dreamer, a static dreamer that things are happening to. You know what I mean? In some sort of pre-programmed way, right? Mm-hmm. So now, really, the fullness of what we're stepping into is the malleability of the dream, right? It's one thing for me to recognize that I'm dreaming in my dream at night, right? It's another thing for me to, not just recognize that I'm dreaming, but then demonstrate that I'm dreaming. To show myself, to love myself in my dream, right? And to extend my love for myself as the love for everything being myself without limits. And there is no loss in that. Mm-hmm. So, it's just judgments like trivial dream stuff. Mm-hmm. It's, what's worthless is the perception of something outside of you. That's worthless. Yeah. Attachment arises in the gap. When I open the map, then I think that there's a golden ring and there's me, right? Then I think that this golden ring is worth something. Mm-hmm. Because I think that there's a thing called a golden ring in a quote unquote relative reality, right? Quote unquote relative world that has value. Okay. Mm-hmm. As if I couldn't just make another golden ring appear. It's made out of my stuff. It's made out of myself. What is this thing? Right. So that's still showing the subtlety of the gap. Right. Mm-hmm. And I put some, it's like I'm believing that myself is split up by time and space. So the sensitivity to that becomes so heightened, right? That even the slightest wandering into the belief in lack is like, no. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Then from that point, the wandering stops. There is no wandering, right? Mm-hmm. And there is no lack. And so you're just really non-linearly discovering, stepping into, you could say, not as someone in particular, but as the one, right? Just like Neo in the Matrix, stepping into your power, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like Neo, he first, when he was fighting Morpheus in the training thing, right? He stepped into his power some, you know what I'm saying? Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Uh-huh. But he was still sort of getting used to it, because he had denied it, right? Then, he really steps into it, you know what I'm saying? Right? Mm-hmm. And then it's like that just keeps on. So he wasn't flying at first, right? Mm-hmm. But he also saw that he was the one. And he could stop the bullets. Yeah. So it's like that. Mm-hmm. After an initial glimpse, do you have any tips to stabilize the awakening? The stabilization occurs spontaneously, right? Stabilization occurs on its own. Mm-hmm. So really, it's not interfering with the process. The process is self-fulfilling and self-revealing. You can look at awakening as a 5-phase model I used to, right? Which is recognition, which is where we have a recognition of ourself beyond the body, right? Or whatever stage that is. Depending on the stage, the recognition is of the subtler stage. Transcendence. So I move from recognizing, right? When I recognize, it's like I pierce through the membrane of the veil of self-limitation. So I have a recognition. And then from that point, there's a transcendence of the previous mode of experience. So I felt like I was a person, and the sense of being a limited individual is transcended. It's not gotten rid of, it's not pushed away, it's not rejected, right? That's a self-limitation. Yeah. Then there's stabilization, right? Stabilization is occurring on its own. That means that anything that appears in my experience is inherently stabilizing, right? That means that it's punctuating the stability that's already the case, right? So just like an airplane flying through the sky, when it hits turbulence, right, it seems to shake, right? But that shaking itself punctuates the stability of the sky, right? Then the airplane makes the necessary adjustments, right, to realign with the sky-like stability, right? Which is just an affirmation, right? Or a declaration within the mind of its already stable nature as the seamless seeing of the self. And of course, that applies to the feminine aspect of the process as well, right? Then there's unification, right? That means where I think that wherever I think that there's something other than myself, wherever I think there's something other than what I've realized myself to be, that otherness becomes the opportunity to see that as me, to see that as me, to see that as me. And that itself is a process of integration, which means that it's reflecting, right, in the wholeness of my experience. So the bodily appearance is realized to be made out of the stuff that I see myself as, right? So I realize my body to be borderless, boundaryless, infinite, in whatever, variation of that. Which means that I see that it's not actually a body per se. Yeah. So really what I suggest is just, openness, willingness, receptivity. And that's devotion to yourself, not as a doing to try to get somewhere, but just a willingness and an openness, and just letting life reveal itself, right? Relaxing. And trust. Okay. If I'm hungry, I can just imagine myself feeling like I just polished off a pizza and vola. I don't know what that is, but voila, I see. Yes. That's right. That's exactly right. And we can understand this, the power of our mind, through the understanding of sexual imaginings, right? Because how does arousal occur? If we start to imagine a sexual activity, right, then that reflects in the nervous system, doesn't it? That reflects in the bodily appearance, you see? So the stimulation is a mind-generated stimulation. Then you have wet dreams, right? Where you're having sex in a dream, but there seems to be an orgasm in the bed. So what's going on there, right? It's just demonstrating that everything's actually going on in the mind, right? So yes, you can feed yourself with thought. Actually, pizza is thought, and we are ordering pizza tonight. We are. All right. Anne says, so there's a perfect sacred marriage in the mind of oneness, which is ultimate bliss, but still desire to marry a human in the dream. can you say how there would still be that desire? So it's important to understand that in this awareness of self, there's no humans in that way, right? That's not a rejection of humanness. It's an inclusion of humanness in the sense that the appearance of human experience, right, is made out of the self. It's made out of myself. And so the let's say the filling out, right, of the fear of the feminine, right, is the demonstration that nothing can take me away from myself, right? Mm-hmm. The desire is not a desire for something that isn't, right? It's it's an extension of what already is, right? So instead of feeling like, oh, I don't have something, mm-hmm, right, and I need to get something, yeah, that isn't me or is outside of me, it's having everything. And then from having everything, what unfolds is the sort of extension of everything within itself. Mm-hmm. So the term desire, generally speaking, presupposes some sort of a lack. Yeah. Mm-hmm. In creation, yeah, it's not a desire, mm-hmm, for a thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You have what you are. Yeah. And love expresses itself, yeah, and experiences itself as itself. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're just dealing with this illusion of sacrifice or something. I mean, the very idea that there's a hierarchy, like, you know, when there's the sacred marriage in the mind, then you won't. Then you what? Then there won't be the experience of there seeming to be a body that seems to be breathing. There's no difference between seeming to breathe, right, and eat a sandwich and anything else that unfolds, right? So if we look real closely, we'll find that there's this subtle belief, mm-hmm, that in our wholeness, mm-hmm, we're just going to stop. And that's exactly what we've been going over this whole deepening. Mm-hmm. That's equating love with self-denial, right? Denying ourselves the experience of loving ourselves. Right? So the switch is from thinking or feeling like there is linear time and there's something outside of ourselves to seeing there is no linear time and I'm only experiencing myself. So therefore, I can't marry a human being in the dream. I can only marry myself. It's like playing on the playground, right? The child doesn't think in these weird ways about, you know, not being whole, and when I'm whole, then this will be the case. Like, do you see how strange that is? Yeah. That just shows how deceived we are about enlightenment, like what we think enlightenment means. Yeah. Which those kinds of things are introduced because the mind is so immature and is so desperately trying to substitute for what it believes that it lost that it needs those extremes to extract its attempts to try to find something outside of itself, right? Yeah. But we don't need that. I mean, you know, So on the playground, right, the child is free. There's only love. There's no fear of, in this playground anyways, right? Don't make it a direct trend. Don't tell me about your playground experiences. Right? In this playground I'm talking about, okay? Right? Where there's only me, there's only myself, there's only ourself, there's only one self, and there's only the sand of the self, right? Just playing in the sand of the self, right? Why not is the question. Why wouldn't I get married? Why wouldn't we get married? Because that's very spiritual, right? Because I'm whole if I'm not married. No. That's not the demonstration that I'm interested in. I mean, I want to show myself that nothing can change the truth of love, and that there's only love. And that there's nothing about this experience that is harmful in any way. That's what I want to show myself, because I love myself. Yeah, we can say that's what we want to show ourselves, right? Because we love ourselves. Yeah? I, we, me. I mean, these words are really very superficial words, right? As if there's, optionalities. Ties into be yourself, exactly. Yeah. It's like, what would I, would I be all weird and hesitant and tweaking out if I was just being myself and there was no loss, no limitation, no lack? It was just joy and playfulness and creativity. I mean, what, You get some donkeys, you know what I mean? We'd like to get some donkeys. So have some donkeys. They don't have to be real donkeys. I mean, they're as real can be, in the sense that they're me. I'm real. I mean, it doesn't get more real than me, baby. I'm telling you. So some donkeys are great. Yeah, they come in a bonded pair. You get a bonded pair. Pip and Squeak. Yeah. Okay, Ari.
This one's an easy one.
All right.
Softball. I just want to hear your thoughts on synchronicities.
Synchronicities are a symbolic demonstration of the non-linearity of your mind. They show that everything is connected to everything else, that there are no accidents, that you are the only one here, and that everything is unfolding in your favor.
So why is it that sometimes I notice them more than other times in my life?
Well, that's your choice. You're choosing to experience that.
Yeah.
You're either giving yourself permission to experience lots of synchronicities or not. So whatever you feel is valuable for you at any given point, then that's what you're choosing. Actually, it's not whether there are synchronicities, it's whether you see the synchronicities. Do you see what I'm saying? This is only synchronicity, and that seems to either be concealed or revealed. So there's a timeline. You can choose right now a version of your past where there's only been synchronicity the whole time, period. And that would just be your, willingness to see that that's what's always, that experience is synchronistic. Yeah. Yeah. So that's synchronistic right there. Okay, perfect. That's it for now, because Frank and I are going to go live at some point. So I don't, we're just live all day. All right. I love you guys. Bye.